This is a thrilling story about a runaway train, the Devil's Gouge. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but anyway, this story was written by R.H. Farnham and was published in the April 1904 issue of The Popular magazine, which was an early pulp magazine. This is Obscure Book Adventures. I am your host, Annie, and welcome to the world of runaway trains and female pulp action heroes. Well, Molly in this story is a female pulp action hero anyway. I can't talk about this story without spoiling the plot yet. I think it is so well written and it's well worth if you read this story for yourself. This story is actually spoiled in the first sentence under the title of this I think 5-page short story. So they tended back then to put a description of the story under the title. And this story, this sentence reads: the way that a railway official's daughter proves a theory in physics by an unexpected practical applications. Well, this absolutely spoils the fact that Molly, the railway official's daughter, is going to save the day in the end. But this story is action-packed and so well written that I would advise you to read it for yourself. The story starts with 2 pages where we get to see Molly, and Molly is this typical 1904 girl doing housework and who is interested in clothes and stuff. But she listens in on a conversation her father has with the division engineer. And this is important because this information comes in handy when Molly has to save the day. And soon we find out, or Molly finds out, that there is a runaway train. This train doesn't have the ability to brake or slow down or anything. And to make things worse, Molly's lover is on this train as well. So Molly feels this really urgency to do something about this runaway train. Now there are some paragraphs that have some technical stuff, train stuff in it, which I don't understand, but that's probably because English isn't my first language. But I do get the main gist of these paragraphs, and those are: there's a runaway train, the train can't brake or slow down, and Molly's lover is on the train. And he is absolutely doing his best on the train to make this train slow down or stop, but he is failing. And on the other hand, we switch back and forth between the viewpoint of Molly doing her best to try and slow down the train and stop the train, and Molly's lover on the train on doing his bit to make the train stop, but failing at every attempt. And this switching back and forth between those two viewpoints in the story really jacks up the pacing of the story. It's really fast paced, and it's really a thrilling and entertaining story. So Farnham does an excellent job at this, but I haven't been able to find out anything about Farnham. I didn't even find an obituary or anything. I don't even know if Farnham was a woman or a man. But let's philosophize a little bit more about Farnham. If Farnham was a woman, it would be logical to have a female action hero, even if she turns out to be very modest. A very modest action hero in the end, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's take a look at the popular magazine which this story was published in. This was an early American pulp magazine, and the first issue was printed in late 1903, and it tended a little bit more towards men's adventure stories than other stories. So this may explain the action in this story, but it also had its origins in boys' fiction, as before it transferred to the popular magazine before 1903. This was a boys' magazine called, well, Boys Magazine. So it had fiction for boys. So this could have been the reason why this was an action-packed story. But coming back to Farnham as a writer, if this writer was a woman, she could have been a sympathizer of a women's suffrage, the suffragettes movement. In the late 19th century, women started to question the fact why they couldn't vote and other stuff as well. I think even women's rights in America go back, way back in 1848, if I remember correctly. If Farnham was a man, well, he obviously would have been a sympathizer to the women's rights movement, or he could have been, seen the importance of women in society to make this woman, Molly, the action hero of his story. But it could also be that the fact to cast a woman in, for the time, usually for men reserved role, could have been just a gimmick, as it was unusual and more original back then. But undoubtedly he must have had a great regard for women in general. I am convinced of that. But I could be talking absolute bollocks. Personally, I think female action heroes from dating back 1904 when this story was published, and before that, they were rare. But if you know pulp action heroes, female pulp action heroes, stories with female pulp action heroes, please let me know, because I'm always interested in those. And they are not like this story. Well, they are out there. If you search for them, it's a needle in a haystack. But I even found last year. Yeah, I think last year I found a Pulp short story, an early Pulp short story that dated even before 1900. So it was really a story that was published in the early days of Pulp magazines, and it was written by somebody anonymously, and it didn't even have a pseudonym or anything of the writer, but it had two gay men leading characters in it, and it ended happily for those two gay men, which was really unusual for the time anyway. And so these stories, they are rare, but they are definitely out there. So maybe, I stubborn as I am, I'll definitely keep looking out for them. I can highly recommend you read The Devil's Gorge by R.H. Farnham for yourself. It's well written, it's fast paced, it's short. It's only 5 pages if I remember correctly. It's free to download on the archive.org. It's in the April 1904 issue of the Popular magazine. If you are interested in other Pulp magazine short stories, I will leave a link to a playlist of my long ongoing Pulp project. Yes, this is another episode in my long ongoing Pulp project where I read one Pulp short story for every year since the Pulps have started. Well, I have a link to the playlist of other Pulp stories that I read for this project in the description box below. If you share my passion for Pulp magazines and Pulp stories and Pulp novels, do check out those videos and my other videos on my channel. I've also put some links to channels that are dedicated to Pulp fiction, novels and magazines in the description box below if you care to watch their videos. If you want to support the channel, you can of course feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.